Live from Augustana College, this is WOG FM Radioactive. I am your host, Joe McCoy, and you are listening to the JoeDaBears Football Show. Today we will be discussing the Bears' improbable yet awesome 20-19 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which makes the Bears 4-1 on the season, and it really feels like now that the Bears have a staple win that the media can't hate on. People can't say we played a bad team. You know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a good football team with a very high-powered offense, a good defense with a great run defense, and we were able to pull out a victory on Thursday Night Football to improve to 4-1 on the season. This Bears team, no matter what you want to say about it, whether we win ugly, which obviously so far we have this season, the thing that really has impressed me about this team is they find a way to win. I feel like with Bear teams in the past, especially in the past, we could say, 5 to 6 years, minus the 2018 season, we always seem to lose these close games. It was always just one play here or there that we didn't make or that the other team did make that ended up costing in the game. And this year, it really feels different. It really feels like even though we might have played bad for part of the game or our backs are against the wall or whatever, we keep fighting, we're extremely resilient, and we find a way to get the victory at the end of the day, which is all that matters. So it's a very impressive win by the Bears coming off of a short week. Obviously, Tampa Bay was on a short week as well, but it's never easy to win in the NFL, especially on Thursday Night Football. And you're facing the greatest quarterback of all time. So anytime you can beat Tom Brady, which this was the first time ever in Tom Brady's career that he has lost to the Bears. So that's another little cherry on top. But like I said, the Bears are able to pull out the win. And, it's hard to argue with 4-1. It doesn't matter how you get them done. In the stat sheet, it doesn't say a win with an asterisk next to it. A win is a win, and that's all that matters in the NFL. So getting into some of the stats, Nick Foles had a very up and down game, kind of a streaky game, which is how he has played throughout his career. But overall, he was 30 for 42, 243 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. So, he put up the yards with 243. I think 42 passing attempts is too high. I know that's because we were not able to run the ball against the Buccaneers, which is 2 weeks in a row that we haven't been able to run the ball. But I think Nick Foles' attempts need to be more in that 30 to 33 range. 42 is just, I think, 10 too many. And we really have to rely more on that running game, which will allow Nick Foles to throw the ball more downfield and open up the passing game. So, he only had an average of 5.8 yards per throw, which again is low too. We need to get that number up. We need to push the ball down the field. But, he didn't make a lot of mistakes. His interception was a fluke interception. He threw a back shoulder ball to Allen Robinson. It was a tad bit underthrown, but not really. Robinson kind of went to jump up. It hit his knee, popped up into the air, and the Buccaneers ended up getting the interception. So it wasn't really Foles' fault on that play. It definitely could have been a catch by Robinson, put us inside the 2-yard line. So that play could have gone either ways, and that was one that ended up bouncing the Buccaneers' way. So overall, a pretty good game from Nick Foles. He made a couple of tremendous throws, which basically saved us the game, mainly in the fourth quarter on the wheel route to David Montgomery. Nick Foles had an absolute gorgeous floater on a wheel route to David Montgomery where the Buccaneers were bringing the blitz, and Foles realized it. He audibled to add more protection. He put Allen Robinson on kind of a pick route, so he picked to let David Montgomery get open. Nick Foles threw a beautiful ball, converted the first down, and that set us up in field goal range for Carlos Santos, who was kind of the unsung MVP of this game, to hit the game-winning field goal. So Nick Foles didn't have a perfect game by any means. I still want to see him push the ball down the field more. It really kind of feels like the same offense. I thought with Nick Foles being in there, we were going to see a lot more 15, 20-yard passes, but those have not came yet. He missed a deep ball to Darnell Mooney really badly that it was such a bad throw. You almost had to think it was miscommunication, but it really did not look like miscommunication. Darnell Mooney ran a beautiful route. He faked in, did a post to the corner towards the pylon, and Nick Foles underthrew him by, no joke, 10 yards. And there was kind of pressure on his face, but there's no excuse. You have to put the ball out there. Again, it was so underthrown, it almost seemed like Mooney ran the wrong route, but I just think it was a very poorly thrown ball by Nick Foles, which the main reason he's quarterback and not Mitch Trubisky's, because Nick Foles is historically more accurate with the deep ball. So those are going to have to start connecting for this offense to get more prolific. We need to get more deep shots and really open up the offense, make the defense have to play back more, which then will open up the running game in the future. So getting onto the running game, it was another abysmal night for the unit. We had 14 carries for 35 yards. David Montgomery had 10 rushes for 29 yards and 1 touchdown, with the longest run of the night being 7 yards. So this is back-to-back weeks where the rushing attack has been basically non-existent. And I know we've played the Buccaneers and the Colts are 2 out of the top 3 run defenses in the NFL. I believe the Colts are number 1 and the Buccaneers were number 3. So I know we're playing very good defensive fronts, and I'm not saying that I expected the Bears to come out here and rush for 150 yards, but at least rush for maybe 70, 75 rushing yards. That's still not good, but it's at least more than 35. 35 is basically non-existent. We had to rely on Nick Foles doing a lot of short passing all along, which was kind of the extension of the run game. We saw a lot of RPOs to try to suck the defense in with the run game and then throw a slant to Allen Robinson. So Nagy, I thought, got creative in ways to kind of run the ball without running the ball, doing a lot of short passes, faking the run, stuff like this. But in the NFL, you cannot win games only rushing for 35 yards. We're lucky to have won this one. Against the Colts, we saw that when we didn't have a running game, the offense scored 3 points through the first 56 minutes of the game, and we weren't able to win that game. So we're lucky to have won this one and have been able to still post 20 points with only rushing for 35 yards. But I really hope against the Carolina defense, which I believe is ranked 28th against the ground, against the rushing attack, that we'll able to really get back to where we were the first 3 games, where we were consistently running the ball, consistently getting 5-6 yards a carry, which then makes it so much easier for Nick Foles and this offense to push the ball down the field. Getting into the receivers, Allen Robinson had another amazing night, 10 receptions, 90 yards, no touchdown. He did have that one play where I said the interception was kind of on him. The ball hit off his knee, popped up in the air, and went into the defender's hands. But Allen Robinson has picked off right where he left off with Mitch Trubisky, with Nick Foles. The chemistry's there. The timing is there. These two love each other. And, it's really great to see. And surprisingly, our second leading receiver was actually Cordell Patterson, who had 3 receptions for 38 yards with a long of 25. So that long reception was, again, another beautiful kind of swing wheel route that Cordell Patterson run. Foles threw a beautiful ball on a 3rd down, and Patterson took it and ran for, I believe, about 10 more yards to set us up in the red zone. So Nagy is really getting Patterson involved in the offense. I love to see this. I love Cordell Patterson. I think all the dude does is make plays when he has the ball in his hands. And I would prefer when we're running the ball that it's mostly Montgomery. And I know you got to give Patterson a couple of carries, so when he's in the backfield, the defense has to respect him as a running back. But I think using Patterson, the way we utilize him against the Buccaneers, with running these swing routes and putting him on kind of wheel routes and letting him do his magic in the open field, I think that's really the perfect way to use him. And I'm hoping that Matt Nagy really unlocks his potential moving forward in the season. Jimmy Graham had a big night. He only had 3 receptions for 33 yards, but he had a magnificent one-handed touchdown. And Jimmy Graham has really been everything the Bears could have hoped for and more, signing him to a 2-year, $16 million contract in the offseason, which many fans, including myself, are griping about. We did not believe Jimmy Graham warranted that type of money. If anything, it maybe should have been a 1-year, maybe 2-year deal worth max of like $10 million. But giving him $8 million a year just seems so much for, I don't want to say a washed up old tight end, but obviously Jimmy Graham is out of his prime. He had taken major steps back with the Packers, and a lot of people are thinking that, well, if he can't be productive with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time with Aaron Rodgers, how is he going to be productive in our offense? But Jimmy Graham has come into this offense, and through 5 games, he already has 4 touchdowns. He's been an absolutely dominating force in the red zone, and he's warranted every single dollar he's been given this offseason. So I'm hoping that Jimmy Graham can go out there, keep balling, keep racking up the touchdowns, and really be a good mentor for Cole Kmet. This is a very pleasant surprise to see as a Bears fan. We all saw how non-existent our tight end production was last year. So to have a reliable tight end who in the red zone can go up, win the 50-50 balls, kind of box out, be a big receiver, and make these magnificent one-handed catches that we saw on Thursday night, it's really an awesome thing to see as a Bears fan, and I hope that it just continues throughout the year. So moving on to the Tampa Bay side of offense, Tom Brady was 25 for 41, 253 yards, and 1 touchdown. He was sacked 3 times, as was Nick Foles. Foles was also sacked 3 times, but Brady was pressured all night. He was uncomfortable in the pocket all night. He was rushed on throws, which made him overthrow or underthrow receivers, and he really was just not comfortable in the pocket, and the main reason is because of the defensive MVP himself, Khalil Mack. But Brady had a very average night, especially for his standards. He made a couple of great throws, as he always does every game, but Brady was not able to make that one clutch moment in the fourth quarter, which we'll get into later, and drive the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down the field to set them up in field goal range. And I really think he was frustrated with what the Bears defense was doing to the Tampa Bay offense. Ronald Jones was the leading and only rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had 17 carries for 106 yards, no touchdowns, but he really was very, very consistent all night. He had a 6.2 yards per carry average with the long of 37. So again, you saw this Bears defense getting not gashed on the run, but definitely not being as stout as we're used to seeing. These long runs of 37 yards, and any run that is above 10, 15 yards really is hard for a defense to take. So I think we really have to limit running backs getting to the second level. If they get past the defensive line, the linebackers have got to be there to stop these running backs from getting into the safeties, into the cornerbacks, and that's where big runs are being broken. So I still want to see the defense get better in the run game. I was hoping we were going to get Snacks Harris, who was a free agent, but he ended up signing to the Seattle Seahawks practice squad. So it looks like we're just going to have to ride with the guys we got. And it's not that I don't think we can improve. I definitely don't think we'll be back to a dominant run defense like we had in 2018. But as long as we can just be a little bit more consistent, not give up so many big plays, I think the defense will be all right. The Bears defense did a great job of limiting the Tampa Bay receiving attack. Tyler Johnson was the number 1 receiver for Tampa Bay. He had 4 receptions for 61 yards. Most of that, over half of those yards were on one play. That was 55 yards long, but we did a great job of limiting targets. Mike Evans only had 5 catches for 41 yards. I know he was banged up going into this game, but still, Mike Evans is an elite receiver in the NFL. He was able to catch a touchdown in the red zone, but limiting him to only 41 yards is a big accomplishment for this defense. So the Bears cornerback duo of Jalen Johnson and Kyle Fuller is proving to be one of the best in the league, if not currently the best cornerback duo in the league. They really need to start getting national media coverage because Kyle Fuller is playing like an all-pro right now. Jalen Johnson is playing nowhere near what a rookie should be playing. He's playing out of his mind. He's locking up top receivers. He's smart. He's instinctive. He's everything you could imagine in a second-round draft pick. And he's just going to continue to get better and better. And this could really be a lockdown cornerback duo for the next 2 to 3 years in the NFL. So it's awesome to see. Our secondary is doing great with Eddie Jackson, Eddie Jackson in this game was only targeted 1 time throughout the entire game. And us as Bears fans, of course, we only want to see big plays, interceptions, all that stuff. And, it might not seem like a player had a good game or because he didn't have this many tackles or he didn't have an interception. But what Eddie Jackson does on the field is he makes the offense throw to only one side. And that is something that cannot be measured in a stat. It will never come up in the stat sheet. But that is it shows how impactful he is on the field because the Buccaneers were scared to throw to his side. They know his instincts are so good. They know he's a ball hawk. So they never wanted to throw. I think most of the times he's on the left side of the field. So he basically just cuts off the entire left side of the field. And Brady does not want to throw his way. So that makes the defense be able to really focus on one side of the field on certain receivers. And it really limits the offense of what they're able to do. So even though Eddie Jackson doesn't show up in the stat sheet in terms of interceptions or stuff like that, he really is being a very impactful player on the field. So it's great to see him being that presence that we knew he is, and it's just awesome to see him out there making plays, even though he might not physically be getting his hands on the ball. Kyle Fuller in this game had the biggest play of the game, in my opinion, especially on defense. It was the absolutely massive hit that he laid on Keyshawn Vaughn, who was the running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Keyshawn Vaughn caught a little crossing route over the middle, and Kyle Fuller had one of the nicest hits I have ever seen, especially a Bears player to make. But he just perfectly leveled his shoulder right into the chest of Keyshawn Vaughn, 100% clean, no helmets involved. Vaughn ended up fumbling, Robert Quinn recovered, and initially on the field they ruled it helmet to helmet. They threw a flag and they ruled the play as an incompletion. But thank God the refs picked up the flag and then they reviewed the play because it was inside 2 minutes. They determined that it indeed Ronald Jones, or he had caught the ball, Keyshawn Vaughn had caught the ball, made 3 steps, made a football move, and Kyle Fuller just absolutely laid the lumber, leading to a fumble and a Bears recovery. And after this was when the Jimmy Graham touchdown happened. So the Bears, in 1 minute and 36 seconds, ended up scoring 2 touchdowns and going into the half 14-13. And that was really when the game turned around. So overall, I think this was definitely the biggest Bears win we've had this season. It was against a very good team. It's a great confidence builder. And I think we saw a lot of improvement from certain players and a lot of different things that we hadn't seen yet that really give me hope for the future. I truly thought that Matt Nagy's play calling was pretty good in this game. I thought it was creative. I think he knew he wasn't going to be able to run the ball that well, and he thought of different ways to get creative in the offense by doing swing routes and getting Patterson out of the backfield and stuff like that. So I really thought Nagy's play calling was good. I think the execution on certain plays was not there. I think Nick Foles missed a couple of throws that he definitely has to make in the future. But I thought Matt Nagy did a good job of adjusting to what the defense was doing. They were bringing a lot of blitzes, so he was doing a lot of screen-type things. And I think it worked well. And obviously, I know we only scored 20 points, which is not enough in the NFL. But I really think Nagy did a good job, not a great job, but a good job of adjusting his play calling to what the defense was giving. I also thought Danny Trevathan had by far his best game of the season. He led the team in total tackles with 8 total tackles, 7 solo tackles, and I think this could be a really good sign for Bears fans because through the first 4 games, I was not impressed at all by Danny Trevathan. Neither was anyone else. He looked slow, he looked old, and he was kind of getting beat in the run game and the pass game. But I think Danny Trevathan really stepped up in this game. He was tighter in coverage. He was filling the holes well, making hits. And I think that's a great sign for Bears fans if he can continue to build off of this and kind of get his legs underneath him for the future games. So next week, the Bears face the Carolina Panthers, who have won 3 straight. They just are coming off a win against the Atlanta Falcons. So they're a team that started 0-2. Everybody kind of dismissed them. They're in the division that's ruled by the Saints and the Buccaneers. But all of a sudden, the Carolina Panthers are 3-2. They're tied. They have the same record as the Buccaneers and the Saints. And they really are showing some promise under first-year head coach Matt Rule. So earlier in the season, it kind of looked like, oh, this would be an easy win against Carolina, especially Christian McCaffrey went down. You're thinking, all right, here's the time for the Bears defense to feast. The offense can get it really rolling. This should be an easy win. But, after 3 straight wins from the Carolina Panthers, this is not going to be any easy game. It's on the road in Carolina, and this is going to be a test for the Bears. I don't think Carolina is as good as a team as the Buccaneers. I do think that the Bears should win this game because with Christian McCaffrey coming out, the Panthers have Mike Davis, who was on the Bears last year, and he actually has put up very good numbers with the Carolina Panthers, but obviously he is not the threat out of the backfield catching and receiving that Christian McCaffrey has, and I think that the Bears can really make Teddy Bridgewater win this game, and as long as we keep stuff in front of us and don't let Robbie Anderson, the 4th leading receiver right now in the NFL in terms of receiving yards, get behind us, I think if we just keep everything in front of us, make the plays, and get pressure on Teddy Bridgewater, we'll be all right. So I really want to see the offense get going. I know I feel like I'm a broken record. I feel like I say that after every game, but Nagy was really, I love the mindset that Nagy and the rest of the team has right now. We're 4-1. Obviously, we're happy we're 4-1, but we're almost kind of pissed off at ourselves because we know we can be better than we are. We know the offense can be way better than they are, and we really have to hone in on the details and focus on the little things so that our offense can take that next step and that next jump where we're scoring more points, we're more explosive, and defenses really have to respect us. So I'm hoping against Carolina, who has a very suspect defense. They're ranked bottom in the league. They don't have a great pass rush. Luke Kuechly retired, so they don't have that great presence in the middle. I'm really hoping that this offense can click this week. This will kind of be the week where Nick Foles and all of the receivers and the running backs all come together, all gel well. And this could be a really big win for the Bears, because if we move to 5-1, we're going to start getting real recognition from the NFL, because I don't care who you've played. I don't care how you've won games. 5-1 is 5-1 in the NFL, and there is no arguing that. And especially after this week, we have the Rams, who that'll be a very tough task. So I think we got to win this game. We cannot overlook the Panthers and think, oh, we're going to win this one and go to the Rams. We got to take care of business this week, and then we can focus on the Rams, and which is a Sunday night football game in front of the whole national audience. And that's where we can really prove that this Bears team is for real, and we're here to make a playoff run. So it's a great time to be a Bears fan. We're 4-1. We can't say that often. I think there's a lot of positive signs, and I think the best spot to be at is you're winning games, but you're still not where you could be. All your potential is not tapped yet, and I think just with more practice, more reps with Nick Foles in this offense, the defense just continuing to get better and better, this Bears defense and this team in general really could be something to keep an eye on come later in the season and postseason time if we're able to make it. So we're 4-1 Bears fans. Hopefully next Wednesday I'm talking to you after the Bears are 5-1 and we have beaten the Carolina Panthers. But until next time, I'm signing off. See you guys.